Hi everybody, it's Katie back with another episode of my vlog. And of course, it's Sunday, so it's time for the Cinema Club Sunday Roundup. We had another low movie watching week this week. We only watched 3 movies, but keeping on track for the season, they were all 3 Christmas movies. Well, the third one might not be a Christmas movie, but it at least has a Christmas setting. So, jumping in at the top, we watched Rare Exports from 2010. This is the Finnish fantasy, horror, black comedy, action movie that is it's kind of a Santa Claus origin story. It's kind of the side of Santa that you never knew existed. It's very cool. It's very well done. It's very funny. It's very well acted. It's very well written. The camera work is incredible. The show is basically stolen by the child star of the movie, who is, I believe, the director's nephew, or he's somehow related to the guy who made the movie. He's an incredible actor, though. He plays this young boy named Pietari, who is afraid of Santa Claus because he's like done his research and figured out that Santa Claus is maybe not the great present-bringing benevolent creature that we always think of Santa as being, but is a much darker form of this mythical creature, if you will. I don't want to give away too many spoilers for this movie. It's really fun. It's a really wild ride. It definitely takes you in some directions that I was not expecting to go. We first watched this movie, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago on recommendation from a friend, and it instantly became one of our Christmas favorites. And now we watch it every year in December because it is just such a blast. So, if you're into weird horror movies, funny horror movies, Finnish horror movies, weird Christmas movies that are totally unexpected and are going to take you in a direction that is just, you really are not going to be able to guess which way this movie is going to go, I would definitely recommend this movie. I did read in my research that Roger Ebert loved it and called it an R-rated Santa Claus origin story crossed with The Thing. So that's not exactly right, but it will give you kind of tonally where you want to be for this movie. So if that kind of rings your bells at all, I would definitely recommend this movie. Gorgeous, gorgeous frozen landscape. I believe it was filmed in Norway, but it's supposed to take place in actually Lapland, the part of Finland where Laplanders live, and people are reindeer farmers. So, again, not going to say too much more than that. I hope that I have intrigued you guys. If you've never seen Rare Exports, it's a real treat of a Christmas movie. I'll say, they have nothing in common except they're both Scandinavian movies, but thematically and kind of stylistically, it fits with Troll Hunter. So if you've seen Troll Hunter and you loved that one, definitely check out Rare Exports. And again, if you're a horror fan who's looking for a horror Christmas movie, you cannot go wrong with Rare Exports. It is just 100% recommended over here. We absolutely love it. And like I said, we watch it every year. So check that one out for sure. The next night, we watched our favorite Christmas movie, Gremlins, of course, from 1984, directed by Joe Dante. This has been our family's favorite Christmas movie for a long time. We went through several years where we actually watched Gremlins probably once a month, just throughout the year, no matter what time of year it was. It's like my kids' first favorite movie, and I love it. It's an incredible movie. We love to watch it. We watch it over and over again. It never gets old for me. I can literally watch this movie just an endless number of times. It's so much fun. It's so wildly creative. There are so many little funny things to spot inside of the movie. I absolutely love it. In case you've never heard of Gremlins, it is a black comedy, horror, Christmas action movie about a guy. His name is Billy. He's a young man. He's working at a bank. He wants to be an artist. His life's a little bit of a drag. His dad is a failed inventor who has been off at some kind of like invention convention, I guess. Great cameo by Steven Spielberg at the invention convention. And in coming home for Christmas to be with his family, he stops by this like mysterious Chinatown place. Oh, I guess the invention convention is later in the movie. Sorry, I'm screwing up the timeline. Anyhow, he's been away from the family trying to go sell his weird inventions to people. He's swung past this like oddball Chinatown shop, and against the wishes of the old man who owns the shop, his grandson actually sells a mogwai, which is a cute, fluffy, cuddly little creature, to this inventor whose name is Rand Peltzer. Rand Peltzer then goes home and gives the mogwai, who's named Gizmo, to his son Billy, and gives him the 3 rules of Gremlins, which, if you guys remember this movie from when you were kids, you're going to remember are: keep them out of bright light, don't get them wet, and don't feed them after midnight. Of course, what with one thing and another, Billy exposes Gizmo to bright light. Billy accidentally gets Gizmo wet. Getting Gizmo wet makes more mogwais appear. This is how they reproduce. And then, of course, he accidentally feeds the mogwais after midnight, and they turn into gremlins. Now, the gremlins look more lizardy and evil. The mogwais are like fluffy and furry and cute and seem harmless. The gremlins are definitely not harmless, and they proceed to take over the town, wreaking havoc, attacking people, causing all kinds of chaos. And Billy and the young woman who he is trying to date, who's played by Phoebe Cates, her name is Kate, have to stop the gremlins and save the town from them. It's incredibly fun. It's incredibly funny. It's just a little bit scary. It's really junior horror. It's not too scary for little kids. In fact, it's one of the movies that I recommend to parents when they say, hey, you know, my kids are getting curious about horror. Like, what did you start your kids with? I always answer the same thing, which is we started our kids with the classic Universal monster movies. And then we moved to the kind of kiddie horror stuff, and Gremlins fits right in there with kiddie horror. I have not yet met a kid who this movie is too scary for. I'm sure there are some sensitive kids who would find it too scary, but for the most part, I really feel like most 7, 8-year-olds can totally handle watching Gremlins, no problem. I will note, there is a scene in the middle of the movie where Phoebe Cates' character talks about how her dad attempted to come down the chimney playing Santa one year at Christmas and died in the chimney, and they didn't realize he was dead in there until a week or whatever later, and they can smell him rotting in the chimney, which is a horrifying moment in the midst of this otherwise pretty lighthearted horror movie. And she does end her speech about her father dying and this is why she doesn't like Christmas anymore. She ends up with the line, and that's when I found out there isn't a Santa. So I would actually say more little kids are prepared to handle this movie from a, is this too scary perspective. I would actually worry more about the Santa spoiler for some kids. That's how not scary this movie is. I will say, though, they did tone it down from the original version of the script. Apparently, when I did my research for this, I found out it was originally much darker. If you see the movie, you know Billy has a dog, and the dog features pretty prominently into the story. Apparently, in the original version of the script, there was a scene showing the gremlins eating Billy's dog, another scene showing them attacking a McDonald's and eating the customers in the McDonald's. And a change I'm glad didn't make it into the movie. Apparently, in the original draft of the script, when Billy's mom confronts all the gremlins in the kitchen, the gremlins win that battle in the original version, and Billy's mom dies. So I'm really glad that was not actually in the final version of the movie, because the scene where Billy's mom has to battle the gremlins in the kitchen is one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. It is awesome. They have just hatched out of their metamorphosis kind of eggs that they've been inside of. She has no idea what to expect. She's seen that the eggs have hatched, but she has no idea what's come out of the eggs. And she goes into the kitchen and finds these gremlins just going crazy in her kitchen, messing with her food, messing with all the appliances, eating the cookies that she was in the middle of baking. And this screen mom does not miss a beat. She just like picks up a knife and starts going crazy on these gremlins that are in her kitchen. And it is so, it's a really refreshing moment, especially in like an 80s horror movie, to not have a female character, when initially confronted by the monster, just go, ah, and like run away. She just like turns into a total badass and takes out all these gremlins in the kitchen. And it's a great scene. My other favorite scene in the movie besides that one is, of course, the movie theater scene near the end of the movie where all the gremlins are in the movie theater together and they're watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's an amazing, really funny scene. There's no CGI. It's all done with practical effects. And if you listen to the director's commentary with Joe Dante on the movie, you learn that when they filmed that scene, they basically had every crew member on the movie hiding behind the seats in the movie theaters, holding up puppets, holding up, like 2x4s with like 4 gremlins nailed on to the 2x4 so they could just move the 2x4 back and forth and have them all moving at the same time. It's a pretty amazing scene in a pretty amazing movie. I will say, I also learned in my research for this vlog that using puppets to be the gremlins was actually the second choice for the movie makers after a failed test using a monkey in a gremlin costume. But they had to cancel this idea because when they tested it out and they put the gremlin mask on the monkey, apparently the monkey freaked out and wasn't having any of it. So that's pretty amusing to think about, a monkey in a gremlin mask just freaking out on like a movie set or like in some director's office somewhere, right? Or even the weird alternate reality where Gremlins gets made with a cast of monkeys in gremlin costumes. I mean, that's a pretty amazing idea that has had me laughing for a few days now thinking about this. I will say another great thing about Gremlins is the music. The score is by Jerry Goldsmith and it's incredible. And in addition to watching Gremlins a zillion times, we also have a family tradition during December we do called Going Gremlining, where we pile the whole family into the car. We go out, we get some drive-through whatever food. It used to be Happy Meals when the kids were younger, but they have more sophisticated fast food tastes now than Happy Meals. And we drive around listening to the Gremlins score and looking at people's Christmas light displays and just having a great time in the car. So that's Going Gremlining. Please join us. If you guys love Gremlins, make a point of driving around listening to the Gremlins score, get some greasy, cheap food, and look for Christmas lights. It's a really fun activity to do with the family. So yeah, Gremlins. I'm assuming everybody who's watching this vlog has seen this film, but if you have not, this is another one of those 100% totally required viewing. Just one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. I absolutely love this movie to death. I will never criticize it. It is just a fantastic, totally wild, totally fun ride. It's amazing. Do you guys love Gremlins also? It's so good. There is also Gremlins 2, which is also amazing. Not quite as good as the original, but damn, that's a good sequel. And I've heard they're working on a new one. So maybe that'll be good. I don't know. Enough time has gone by. I'm not feeling super positive about it, but dang, that original one from 1984, one of the greatest Christmas movies of all time. Check it out if you've never seen it. Watch it again if you haven't seen it in a while. Watch it with your kids if you got them. You guys are going to love this movie. You're going to love rewatching this movie. All right, enough about Gremlins. Okay, for the third movie for this week, we watched another movie that came out in 1984 and is set at Christmas time, but doesn't really have a Christmas theme. But after our success with showing the kids Crush Groove last week or the week before, Sean wanted to show them Beat Street, which is one of my favorite of the early New York City hip hop genre movies. This one is starring Guy Davis and Rae-Dawn Chong. It's a story of a group of teens and young adults in, again, New York City, early 80s. They're thoroughly entrenched in the budding hip hop scene. Guy Davis plays a DJ. His younger brother is a breakdancer. They're friends with a couple of graffiti writers. They have kind of the whole mix going down. And Beat Street is an awesome mix of all those different kind of elements of hip hop culture. You have a lot of breakdancing scenes in this movie, which is awesome. They got real breakdance crews from New York City to be in the movie. It feels a lot more authentic than a movie like, say, Breakin' does. It's still a movie, but they really got the real people to be in it, which is pretty great. You've got musical performances from tons of huge acts from back in the day. There's a final scene at Kool Herc's nightclub where there's performances by Afrika Bambaataa and Soul Sonic Force, Melly Mel and the Furious Five, other musical acts also. Kool Moe Dee is in it. Just a ton of early hip hop acts. Really, really great performances from basically everyone that's in this movie. It's really, really well done for what the genre is and what the time is. I think of sort of all of those movies that kind of fit into that group, I think that Beat Street is probably the best one. It's really fun to watch. It's got some charming narrative elements. There's, part of it is a romantic comedy kind of between the two main characters, but there's this whole other plot about one of the friends, a guy whose name is Ramon, who tags as Ramo, and how he's obsessed with these white trains that he sees, and he's got to get up on one of these white trains. But then there's this bad tagger character in the movie named Spit, who just goes around writing spit, 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 spit over the top of everyone else's incredible pieces that they've done on these trains. There is a horrendous scene where Ramo finally comes into contact with Spit and chases him down inside of the subway. And I'm not going to tell you how that scene ends, but whoa! It's effective. That's the word I'm going to use for it. I've seen this movie a bunch of times, and that scene never fails to get me. So great job to the people who made this movie. All of the musicians involved, the actors did a great job. The writing is pretty good for what this movie is. It's not like the greatest film of all time or like, Shakespeare or whatever. But again, for an early 80s look at the growth of the early hip hop scene, it is incredible. You pretty much can't go wrong with Beat Street, one of my favorites. And like I said, it is set at Christmas time, so it fit right into our Christmas theme for the month and for this week. So totally recommended if you're into any of the stuff that I just talked about. If you checked out Crush Groove on my recommendation and you liked it, you're definitely going to want to check out Beat Street. There's a lot of dance stuff, not just breakdancing in the movie. Rae Dawn Chong's character is a student at a local college. She's actually a musician, but she's working with the dance group or class, I guess, at the school to put together a presentation. So there's not just breakdancing in this movie. There's some other dance stuff as well. So if you're a fan of dance, if you're a fan of hip hop culture, any of those sort of related things, early 80s, New York City, all of that, Beat Street, it's where you're going to want to be. It's a great movie that really captures the essence of kind of that time and place and culture, I feel like, really well. So totally recommended. And that's it for movies for us this week. I will say we finally finished watching the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV series. If you are a fan of the Evil Dead movies, I would definitely recommend Ash vs. Evil Dead. It's a really fun ride. It's very funny. It's very gross. It's very splattery. It's very R-rated. Personally, I recommend the first and second seasons. I felt like the third season really fell flat. And if we had just stopped watching after the first and second, first season, really great. Second season, pretty good. Third season, kind of my review of that one. But if you're an Evil Dead fan, an Army of Darkness fan, definitely owe it to yourself to at least check out the first season of Ash vs. Evil Dead, because it's a pretty fun ride. All right, that's it for us for this week. I'm sure we're going to watch more Christmas movies coming up. What have you guys been watching? I'm always curious to find out. Of course, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you've been watching, what you're planning on watching, what your favorite Christmas movies are. We've got kind of a funny mix coming up for the next few weeks, and I'm pretty excited to watch this stuff, honestly. So, I'll be back in a few more days with another episode of my vlog. Until then, take care, stay safe, and thanks so much for watching. See you later.